Okay, we are live for another amazing show. I'm loving these weekly live streams. The audience is loving it too. We've been getting so much value from the Capital Mindset Trading Group, and I just love connecting with you guys here. I haven't had as much time as of late to record videos, but this allows me to get the information out to you in a timely fashion and keep you updated with some of the absolute best analysts in this entire space. So it is a pleasure to be here with you guys again. I hope you had a very happy Easter. A lot has been happening. Hope you disconnected, got away from the charts for a bit, and your batteries are recharged, because we're going to show you some incredible stuff today that's going to answer a lot of your questions. I mean, the number one question on everybody's mind is, what's happening with this market? Is it over? Is the bull run over? Are we near a bottom? Is this going to go on forever and ever? And I've been noticing a lot of despair and just kind of like we're in the desperation or just given up phase, and people are leaving. And that's oftentimes when we're just about to turn a new page or turn a course. And, you know, in these market conditions, patience is really key. I mean, I know that we've been saying that for a while now, but this isn't about getting rich. This is about understanding the bigger picture. It's about getting rich, just not getting rich overnight is what I mean. So we're here to show you the bigger picture and also to make a lot of money along the way. So you can either be an investor or a holder or a trader, and we're going to show you how to do both. I mean, really, you can buy the bottoms of the patterns, which is now, in my opinion, very close to being now. And you can trade the ranges, which is also an incredible skill set that you can use in bear and bull markets. So that's why we have Trip here, the lead analyst from the Capital Mindset. And just on a little bit of news before we get started, late Pope Francis has passed away. So rest in peace, Pope Francis. A lot has been happening in the world. On that note, you know, in the despair of Bitcoin, and while retail has given up, Michael Saylor just bought $555 million worth of Bitcoin. And also, I thought it really interesting that Yatsu, the co-founder of Animoca Brands, who's a friend of mine, and we've done several podcasts together, his theory was that going forward, institutions will be deciding the winners in altcoins, and that the ones that are going to survive and stay strong are the ones that they're going to bet on. Now, let me know how you feel about that in the comments. It's an interesting theory, but things have definitely changed. We're in the institutional era for Bitcoin, and it's why it's very hard for me to, you know, be bearish, among other factors, like the larger term timeframes have not invalidated a lot of these ideas of, you know, just being in a bull market. And all signs point to, for me, that we are still in this bull market. We're going to examine the charts today to find, you know, confluence and information on where exactly we are and where we're headed. So without further ado, I'll announce today's topics. You guys, please do leave a comment, smash the like button, share this with your friends. We want to get the show out there. There's so much value here. So if you do like it, we would appreciate that you do hit that like button and you interact. Let us know you're here. Where are you tuning in from? I absolutely love to connect with all of you. So please do let me know. So the topics for today are the crypto market outlook for 2025 and predictions. So Bitcoin golden crossing coming. So we're going to go over that and why that could be a very bullish catalyst. And is this the last opportunity to buy the dip? We'll be showing some charts on that. Is there potentially one more sweep of the lows before we go on resume or, you know, flip to an uptrend? Are altcoins bottoming while Bitcoin dominance tops? Now, that is honestly usually key for when we start to get these just golden trading periods for altcoins, is when Bitcoin dominance is topping. It's at resistance. Will it be topping? Global liquidity versus Bitcoin price, and some surprise charts for you today. I think we've got Theta, Jupe, Pro. What other one am I missing, Trip?
The other one we talked about was Sui.
Sui, that's right, layer one. So we are going to go over those 4 coins, and potentially, you know, if we have time, we'll take some of your comments or questions in the stream, or else we'll use it for next time, guys. So do stay tuned. You are going to figure out all the answers to your questions, or at least, you know, understand where you're at by the end of this. And on that note, I'd like to welcome Trip to the show, the lead analyst of the Capital Mindset. Just so much valuable information for you guys today. Welcome, Trip. How you doing?
Hey, Megan. Thank you. Doing very good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, right? Really difficult market almost, because Bitcoin is at a pivotal point and an inflection point in which, you know, we're just waiting for a decision to be made, right? We're just waiting for what's going to happen next based on where Bitcoin's at now. Like, what is your read on what's happening right now in the market?
Yeah, so like right now, I think we're still going through the same motions we have before. We need to form a bottoming pattern on Bitcoin. Recently, we put in the lowest low. That was around 74,600 or so. So now the next low that we're looking for has to be higher than that level to even start thinking about bullish ideas. So we have some things to go over that are going to cover what has happened in the past for this same scenario. So we're going to take a look at that today.
Right. And before we do so, I just want to say it's been really incredible during this time to be in the group because although it's been difficult trading conditions, Trip and our other analysts were able to pick out some of the best patterns and still get incredible results during this time. Always teaching people in the group, how to look at these setups, entry strategy, exit strategy. So I do want to pull this up now and show you guys because this is really valuable and this is kind of some of the things that we do in the group. So I'm going to put us on small now. Sorry, guys. I'm going to put Trip back up here. And my chart is here. Okay. I don't know why it's small though. There we go. All right. So this is lever. This was the chart you initially posted, right, Trip? It said low risk entry. Can you explain this a little bit more?
Right, yeah. So you're looking at a support entry here. So if you can enter as close as you can to that level of support, then your risk for that trade is going to be a lot lower than if you were trying to buy a breakout, for example. Usually, when you buy a breakout, if you get a retest that's deeper than the entry, which is very common, that's usually a place where people get stopped out of their trade prematurely. So really, we're trying to adjust our strategy in the group to enter more closer to that major support level instead of just waiting for the breakout.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so this is what I'm talking about those massive opportunities at this point in the market to potentially buy the bottom of something. I mean, just this past November, we didn't think we would get that chance. And yet here we are. And it is an excellent opportunity, in my opinion, especially if you're a long-term holder and you're looking for, a relatively strong entry point. I've been dollar cost averaging throughout these dips. And I just want to show you the results from this low risk entry right here. So I'm going to get that chart up now. And wow, I mean, that is just absolutely incredible. It was 40% move, just about 40% without leverage, and almost 200% with 5x leverage, which, we do have a leverage group. We do teach you how to trade. The link is in the description below. And on that note, we actually do have a massive sale going as part of, our valued members. The Crypto Megan community is a 20% off. So it's code Crypto Megan 20. Check out, guys. And this is such an invaluable skill that, you can use forever going forward. And oh, it's absolutely amazing. So I just wanted to show that here before we get started. And on that note, Trip, I'm going to hand it over to you and we can go ahead and get started with Bitcoin.
Sure. So yeah, as soon as you get this chart, yeah, we're looking at the Bitcoin one-day chart. So previously on these other golden crosses that we had, so the first one we had at the bottom, this was in October of 2023, and just before that golden cross happened, we were looking at this bottoming structure. And as I was mentioning at the beginning of the video, we're looking for that first higher low in this trend to consider the next reversal to the upside. So as you can see here, I've labeled the low, the lower low, and then the higher low. And after this higher low is printed on this third green circle, that's when the new uptrend started for the next rally. Then the moving averages as well, that's where you got that golden cross. So we're looking at the same golden cross opportunity over here. And again, if you look just before it, you had your low, your lower low, and then your higher low before the next rally started. So again, now we're in that exact same position. We've broken below the 200 MA. We're forming your low so far. We got your lower low. And now it's like, are we going to get that next higher low just the same? So that if that higher low comes in on this trend, the current one that we're in, then we're looking for a break above the 200 MA, and we should expect a golden cross to follow, just like we have the previous two times. Now, if we look at, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, just golden crosses. I mean, it's usually pretty significant when they happen, right? I know we're going to have some charts to show previous iterations coming up.
Yeah, I was going to show that right here, actually. So this is an older chart. I haven't updated this fully to the new one, but this was one that I put together for the last one, showing even further back in history. So this went way back to April of 2019. So the first one was 155% move after its golden cross. Then you had a small, really short one. This is before the COVID event happened. So that was only a 6% gain just during this small, tiny golden cross back here. And then the next one was massive. So that was a 636% move on that third golden cross. Then we had a 50%, and then a 39%, and then a 118%. And so far, according to this picture, when this screenshot was taken, that was another 64% move. So we had posted this in the group. We said the same thing. Watch for this golden cross coming, because previously these have shown to be very profitable trading ideas. So now that we've set up for the third one, I think there's really a good chance we could see a massive move from Bitcoin that should be something similar to one of these previous moves.
Right. And this is precisely the reason why, it's a little bit tricky to trade altcoins right at this moment, because of that idea that we could come back down towards 78K as a final sweep of the lows in the chart you showed previously with the 3 different points, with the 200 MA, that could be potentially insane opportunity here before we really get going.
Yeah, very much so. So if we zoom in, actually, we can look at the structures that we're forming. These were the 2 previous golden crosses, just zoomed right into that exact price structure. So we've been following this idea, and I've highlighted them again. If you guys were following some of our previous lives, we also talked about this chart, I think, a couple of times. But otherwise, it's been separated into 3 sections. So you got this red part, which is the first initial move up, and that's when the consolidation started. So these consolidations in red, they all look fairly similar when you start to compare them right on top of each other. And again, this white section had your little double bottom, or really it's just like a short-term reversal. And then in 2024, you had the same thing. And then 2025, just recently, very similar again. And then this blue section that's just sort of rolls over. We saw that in 2025, 2024, and 2023. And now we're focusing on this green circle that is really in the same position as all 3 before. The last time we showed this chart, this green circle was down here for each, and we were highlighting this bear trap idea. So if we just reverse a little bit and see where we've gone from those moments, this chart has really shown that it's been kind of like a little bit of a map to see where we could be going, at least in the short term or the next move as we're building this price structure. So we're going to put these back just to see where we are now. And you can see we're attempting to push above the 200 MA here, right? So the 200 MA was resistance, and you had a red wick poke above it for a moment, but then you got your next pullback. This would have been your higher low entry. If you didn't catch the one back here, then you're looking for this fake out and the pullback, and that was the one that started. And then in 2024, you had the same thing. You had this poke above resistance above the 200 MA, and then the next pullback, this is a low that's higher than this previous low, and that started the next rally. So now in this scenario, we're in the same position. We're trying to poke above the 200 MA again. If we get rejected, I'm looking for another pullback down to the support, and this could be very similar to these previous buying opportunities before the next rally could continue.
Really interesting. I know that answers a lot of the questions of people who have been asking me, is this the bottom? Will there be another chance to buy even a better buying opportunity from here? Or are we just going up from? So this is like Trip said, it's like a map. If this happens, then that. If we break above the 200-day MA and we're able to hold above it, then that's another story. But essentially, if we did come back down and get another higher low, it'd be just one more confirmation of a potential reversal. So, yeah.
And a lower risk entry. So if you wanted to use leverage, like our leverage group is probably going to take advantage of that lower risk entry opportunity if it happens. So yeah, there's definitely potential for even short-term movement or short-term gains. And then if we do continue this rally, we're going to have to see some kind of bullish catalyst, I'd expect, from the news. And that's something that Megan and I were talking about last night, is when is the president going to announce that he's buying Bitcoin? Like, I think this could be the next narrative that's right in front of us, but we just haven't heard anything about it yet.
Yeah, and there was some chatter about, will he use the tariff money to buy Bitcoin? I mean, there's a lot of rumblings happening. We also discussed, his midterms in 2026, and we were talking about, will Bitcoin top the end of this year? Will it go into next year? And there's a lot of different ideas, but the one thing that's, resoundingly clear to me, at least in my theory, is that we're in a very bullish environment. And, it's just a matter of time from here. So I find these charts really interesting. We are going to update this chart in the next stream to see where we're at. And if we got that buying opportunity, or if we just, broke above that 200-day MA and keep going from here. So this is really interesting. And I know that this is hard to answer, but the other question burning on everyone's mind is, how long do we have to wait for something to happen? I mean, do you have any insight on this? I see that you put an 80-bar line up there as like approximate time average. And we know that these are just, approximations based on previous iterations. You don't have a crystal ball when trading, but is there any idea we can get from some of these charts?
Yeah, definitely. So we're just having this average of the two moves. So the previous one, this blue bar, this is showing the moment that we broke below the 1-day 200 MA, and that was about a 60-day consolidation before it popped up and started moving higher again. In March 2024, you had the same thing. We started from the break below the 200 MA, and if you measured that out, it really got started over here, and that was about 102 bars or 102 days into the future of this trend. And then currently on the March 2025, when you broke below this 200 MA, so far it's only been about 42 days so far. And if you take the average of the previous two, 60 and 102, you get about 80 bars. So this is just a rough estimate of what could be possible, what we could see. It might not take the whole 80, but I would say that's a good estimate for just trying to ballpark the idea at the very least. So you could round it down to about 2 months or so, and that would be a normal estimation of time before we start seeing more upward movement.
Right. So maybe end of May, beginning of June, more or less.
Yeah, more or less. It's really,
Yeah.
like you said, it's hard to nail down the exact timing for that, but we do have a window of time that we're focused on for sure.
Right. And then there's the other theories, and the plan B that says best time to buy Bitcoin is 6 months before the halving, best time to sell 18 months after. That 18-month mark is in Q4 around November. So that's just one of several, also based on previous iterations in the 4-year cycle theory. So those are still potentially in play. We'll have to watch. But then, we are going to go over after this what the scenario could be for the altcoins, where we're at with those, because people are thinking that that's not ever actually going to happen at this point. And there's lots of despair. Again, one of the indicators to me saying, we're near or close to a bottom. But before then, I think we're going to look here at global liquidity.
Right. Yeah. The global liquidity chart. So this has been a lot of talk for most people. They've been paying attention to the global liquidity chart, saying that Bitcoin often lags behind it by about 60 something days or so. So as you can see it right here, global liquidity is already broken above the trend line. It started to move higher. Bitcoin is still lagging behind it and hasn't really had this pop. Hasn't had the same pop as this one previously on the global liquidity chart, anyways. But if you compare it back here to what global liquidity did in the previous cycle, this was the 2019 to 2020 cycle. After it broke above this trend line, you had a bullish retest, and that's when global liquidity took off, and Bitcoin exploded from that point. That was when the bottom of the COVID event happened, and then we started that whole 2020 rally up to 69,000 for Bitcoin. So now we're in that same position up here. If you look at this upward trend line for the global liquidity chart, and then you compare it to where Bitcoin is now, we could be just at the beginning of the next rally. Maybe we come down and get a retest on global liquidity, but either way, I do think that we're following in its footsteps fairly close from this point, at least.
I mean, yet another indicator showing that we could be just at the beginning. It's really interesting. There's so many bigger time frame charts that show that we haven't reached a top yet. And for everybody who's asking, there's, like I said, there's no predictions, there's no crystal balls here, but you can't help but not ignore these kind of indicators, right? And not rule it out as a possibility that we're just getting started on this next big run.
Yeah, very much so. Like, it's really easy to be bearish if you want it to be. If you want a bearish scenario, really you just want to break lower than 73,000 on the Bitcoin chart, and then we would need to make a lower low or a lower high. So I would be focusing on the trend changing ideas. Maybe if we get a topping pattern of some kind. I just don't see it yet. So to be bearish without any evidence, it just doesn't really make sense. So I'm still running with the bullish scenario, and really I'm finding more bullish ideas than I am bearish ones. So
Right.
might as well just roll with it, and I'm not trying to fight the trend at this point.
Right. And when you consider all the previous tops, I mean, we weren't in these kind of conditions where everybody's salty, they've given up, they've bought the top of everything. It was more like, when you're in the middle of a top forming, you feel like it's going to go on forever. And that's just sentiment at this point in fundamentals. But it's something I look at, as having been in the industry quite a long time too. So I think that's an important indicator in itself.
Right, yeah. The next one we're going to take a look at, everyone's wondering when the altcoins are going to start moving. I hate to use the term alt season because it's been like the boy who cried wolf for the past couple of years now, right? Everyone's expecting this alt season to happen. The landscape in crypto is massively different than it was before. And we got over 5 million something altcoins. Some of them have died off. Some of them are still being brand new, like with the meme coin sector. So it's a very different landscape. All that money cannot flow into one thing at a time like it used to. It's just so spread out. So really, you're going to have to be, you have to dig for the winners a little more this time. You
Right.
might not get those, 100x gains across the board on all the small caps all at the same time. Really, it might be limited to like this one did a 10x, this one did 20, this one only did 5. So that disparity is going to be a little different this time, I think, going forward.
Right. But luckily, then we have all of you guys to help us pick out the absolute best setups and take that work out of it for everybody who's part of the group. So I see Dre's in the house. Happy Easter, Dre. How's it going? Welcome. Good to have you back. We love to have this little family that we have and kind of just like give you guys as much value as possible. So I hope you had a good one. And yeah, let us know what you're thinking, what's on your mind. And now we're going to go over one of the biggest, questions of where are the altcoins at now. Bitcoin dominance is a huge indicator in the past.
Right. Yeah. So the Bitcoin dominance chart, again, every time we've drawn a resistance level, we had one back here, and it was a short-term pullback before a next move higher. And then we had another resistance level up here at around 58% or so. And the same thing happened. You poked above it for a bit, had a short-term pullback, and then we kept rallying higher. So all of these longer-term alt seasons that everyone's been expecting, we just haven't gotten it yet. This has been a very strong, continuous uptrend the entire time. And this started back in 2022. And it just hasn't stopped. So the next thing that we're looking for, again, I don't put a ton of weight into it yet, but it might give us at least a pullback, something similar to like this move here or the one we had back here where you had some pullbacks on dominance. So don't forget, this is a weekly chart. So even if you see these short-term movements, that could be a month to even 2 months worth of alt trading that is, more in altcoin favor than it is in Bitcoin at the very least.
Right. No, this is really interesting chart. And it's kind of just like it's all eyes on Bitcoin. It's the Bitcoin show. And that is frustrating people quite a bit. Understandably so. I mean, it's not an easy space to navigate, which is why we like to break it down, zoom out a little bit, and just understand where we are and what you should be doing. And oftentimes people want to overtrade just to, be in the market. But a big handful of these moves just come across, a small amount of days of the year. Right. So the big mega moves, and then in between there's trading the ranges pretty much.
Yeah, very much. We're waiting for dominance to pull back. Usually when it does pull back, when you have these massive pullbacks, like this one started in December 2020 and it ended in May of 2021. So that was a fair amount of time for really good altcoin trading. We're looking for a move like this, but usually, after these moves have happened, Bitcoin is usually topped out and the market usually follows, or the altcoins usually follow Bitcoin after that. So it's usually like a last hurrah kind of signal for the altcoins when they start taking off and you see 40% gainers every single day across the board for weeks on end. That's your signal that you're getting close to the end. At least it has been in the past. So
Right.
if Bitcoin continues to be, in a super cycle, for example, really the only trading opportunities you're going to get for those extended altcoin runs is when you get these pullbacks on the higher time frames. But other than that, we must assume that if this level doesn't act as resistance or this bearish divergence doesn't play out, then we're probably going to go test the highs at about 73% for Bitcoin dominance.
Right.
So I
And
still think
when
we have
we
a
had
little bit
that,
to go.
yeah, I mean, it's pretty massive. And when we had that altcoin run in November, can you point that out where that is on dominance here?
The one in November
Yeah.
recently?
Yeah.
November recently here. So this
I
was the
mean,
one,
yeah.
you're looking at 2023 or 2024?
It was 2024. When we just had this last kind of like altcoin pop, I want to
Right.
see what the move was on dominance at that time.
Yeah, that was just this little window of space. If we highlight it here, I can maybe cover it in a little rectangle just to show. This was November, right? So again, a very short move, but yeah, that was, let's see if we measure what the pullback by percentage was. We'll start at the top of the wick down to the bottom. So about a 10% move on dominance was what caused that rally. So that's all it really takes. Bitcoin's market cap is so big now that even 10% of that market cap coming into altcoins is massive. And
Right.
again, not everything took off. A lot of coins just stayed at the bottom, didn't really move much. But the ones that had like news catalysts, for example, those are the ones that definitely felt that move more than anything.
Right. No, and what I want to point out is that is a blip on the radar that caused that massive move. And it's like you say, Trip, like now it's such a big market cap that, when it does pull back slightly, the altcoins have their day in the sun. And I'm imagining it will pull back a bit more than 10% at some point in this cycle. Either we have a blow off top or we're highly overextended in Bitcoin, whatever that may look like. And, we'll get that potential altcoin season again. And I see Matt in the house here today. Hey, any theta updates? Is it finished or can we come back from here and do enough people know about its AI pivot and not just video streaming? That is a great question, Matt. I would fully agree with you that Theta is making huge moves in the background and so many partnerships as far as the AI part of it. So many patents. I think they just got a new one announced a few days ago, but the marketing efforts, I would say we do need to make a bigger effort there. Now, I'm not part of the team. I'm not an advisor for the team officially, but I'm highly involved. I bought in way back when, and I love what they're doing. So I would agree that if they up the marketing a little bit, which Mitch did say in ThetaCon in Vegas that he was planning on doing, as well as the U.S. exchange listing, things take time to play out. And it's like Tripp said, it sounds like the boy who cried wolf. And at this point, it's kind of like feeling like it's never going to happen across the board. And that's, I think, just the point that we're at in the market cycle, to be honest. And yeah, I believe they will make a huge splash. I want to do another video on that. Also, if you're coming from the Digital Dave community, Crazy for Cryptos, we are speaking now about our podcast topics. So do let us know what you want us to talk about there. I will probably be doing that next week. But we also, stay tuned, Theta Gang. I see another Theta Gang here, Kay Rudman. Nice to see you. We are going to do a chart on Theta at the end, a very bullish chart, although just keep in mind that a lot of these coins might be invalidated, these setups, if Bitcoin does pull back, but it'll be an even better entry most likely. So that being said, yes, I'm still highly bullish on Theta. I'm going to do my best in my part to spread the word about it because I think it's a phenomenal project. I love Andrea, the head of BD, and the whole team. So let's go, Theta Gang. And back to you, Tripp.
Great. Yeah, we're going to take a big step back and look at the total 3 chart again. So we've been following this chart. Not much has changed, but I want you guys to notice that the real party hasn't started for altcoins for another reason. That's because total 3 has still been in a downtrend. So as you can see, we've been testing this lower trend line, and that's where we got this previous local bounce. Now you're still in a falling wedge, so we're waiting for a break higher. Then the next move we need to see is just like Bitcoin, is that break above the 1-day 200 MA. So we'll go back to the Bitcoin dominance chart. If this overbought conditions with bearish divergence plays out here, that would give more of an idea of why total 3 should bounce from this point. So those 2 charts are really working together in tandem, and you want to see one thing happen on one and see the opposite reaction on the other at the same time. So really, it's the patience thing we were talking about. We want to see total 3 make a bigger move here. We need to see a solid break out of this falling wedge, and then to confirm that move with a break above the 1-day 200 MA. So that's really all we're waiting for. Until that happens, a lot of our trades in the trading group have been fairly short term. We're entering on support or the breakout of a smaller pattern, and we're taking profit at the closest resistance levels just so we can scoop up our profits and then hold that for the bigger move coming.
The bigger move coming, that's right. And I can't help but look at this chart and just think, wow, okay, where are we now? It's a massive cup and handle formation, right? On a higher time frame, we've got a falling wedge on support. It's shaping up to potentially be a very nice entry here. And I think it's going to take a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah, the structure looks great. So just from a TA perspective, it does look amazing. But because it's a higher time frame chart, you just have to suffer through it while it's building that structure, right? So a 1-day chart means that every single one of these candles is 1 day long. So how long have we been in this downtrend now? Measure again, go from the previous high to where we are. So it's been 138 days. So this is just what we have to go through. There's no other way to really say it except for we need to see this happen first, then we can start being mega bullish on the altcoins again.
Right. Well, we're no strangers to hardships and hurdles and bumps in the road in this space. If you are here right now, that means that you understand how it is, and you're in this. We're all in this together, and this space. It's volatile because it's young and it's new and it's low market cap, and the world is just starting to get to know it. Again, I'm going to remind you of the stats of adoption across the board. We're at 4% worldwide. That is not very big. That is not very big at all. I think it takes like 16% to become mass adopted. We're about in like the 90s, when the internet, the very beginning of the internet days, MySpace. So just keep that in mind when you're frustrated, when you're kind of suffering through this, as Tripp said. There is light at the end of the tunnel because this is an incredible technology that's going to transform our entire lives. So yeah, just want to keep you guys in Good spirits today. And on that note, here you go, Theta Gang. We got the Theta chart. Let's check it out.
Yeah, so we covered this chart on the last live too. There was oversold conditions with bullish divergence. This is actually the 2-day chart. This is the 1-day chart labeled, but it's actually the 2-day chart, just so we can see a little further back in the price history. But even on the 2-day, if we pull up the RSI too, you can see we're oversold. You're below 30 on the RSI, and you got another swing of bullish divergence again. So if you pull it to the back here, you had a single drive, and then what we call this is a double drive. Like there's 2 drives of bullish divergence popping up on the chart. So really it's trying to say that there's some accumulation going on. All of these little spikes that you're seeing on the RSI, but it's not really taking off on the price action. Really, in my mind, that just tells me that it's being absorbed. So people are selling into the people that are buying. So the buyers are holding this level, and you're not seeing major dips below that support because they're absorbing all of those sell orders. So this major support range for Theta is still the one that we're focused on for now. There's not really a lot we can cover as far as an update for this idea, but really it's just when you see these divergences, it's trying to tell you the trend is trying to change direction. Now, whether it takes off today or next week or even next month, that's really hard to say from this point. We could go through a little bit of a consolidation or another accumulation phase on this support before it takes off. If Bitcoin has a bearish idea, like right now we're looking at Bitcoin looking for that higher low, like we had talked about at the beginning, way over here. So if we get this higher low on Bitcoin, that means we're going to have to pull back, right, down to about 77, maybe 78K or so. And then if you look at Theta, where we are now, we're really close to the support level. So there's even a chance that we poke below it for a bit, and maybe then we'll start considering maybe where it's printing a bear trap, for example. But really, it's just if Bitcoin's driving this market, and a lot of these altcoins are sitting on support, these setups that we have drawn today could be invalidated by Bitcoin's next move. But we're still going to be looking for buying opportunities, because usually when you dip below support, we're looking for those traps, right? Those bull traps at the top or the bear traps at the bottom. So don't be too scared if you break below that support, as long as Bitcoin still looks okay, right? If Bitcoin makes that higher low, that's a buying opportunity and everything else should follow.
And one question for those people who aren't avid traders in this group: how did this become a key support range? Can you explain like the mechanics of why it is like that?
Yeah, it's where you see those reversals from the previous times in the price action. So, if you look back here to May of 2022, this was a support level for a while, but it didn't really gain much traction after that move, right? You had a small move up and then it rolled over. And then it came back down to hit this level around December of 2022. And the same thing, you had a short-term rally. But then when it came down to this level, this was different, because this rally didn't end with a lower low in continuation. This is where the trend changed direction and got an explosive move. So the reason why it's a key support range is because this is where the buyers all agreed that this was as low as it needed to go before the uptrend must continue, or at least reverse from the downtrend into an uptrend. So it's the reversal points on the chart that you're focused on. Now that we're getting close to this same support level again, we could be seeing the same kind of reaction coming, right? Where it's just like, this is the end of the downtrend. We're looking for a reversal back into the uptrend from this support level.
Right. And I know everybody wants to know, what is the ultimate price prediction for this year or this cycle? And what we're trying to point out here is just that it's a phenomenal buying opportunity, potentially right there at support. Kate Redmond says he's accumulating. All right. You got to have your strategy set in place and the right mentality, and understand what you're doing and why, and also be in line with the fundamentals. If they're still there and nothing's changed, then, this is just market structure and the market doing what it's doing. And we just have to be patient. Very, very patient at that. But yeah, let's have a look at some of these other setups now.
Right, so we got Sui. This was a request by one of the members in our trading group. So Sui had another big move. He had this double bottom previously, right? So this was back in July to August of 2024 before it took off. And then from there, we had a rejection from this level. We're looking for a pullback down to the support. Now, this previous resistance level that it broke above is now acting as a support range. So I've added the 2-day 200 SMA to this idea as well, just because same thing back here. This was the level that we broke above, and that's where it really started the party. So now we're looking for that level to hold for that 200 MA as support on this pullback. So if we assume that this is the bottom, that's the only thing these fib levels are based on. So really, you're just pulling from this high down to this bottom, and then you're looking for extensions up to the upside for the possible move higher if it comes from here, right? But a lot of things need to happen again with Sui. It needs to hold the support. Maybe we're going to build a more identifiable structure. I mean, this really isn't much. You could kind of draw a falling wedge on it. We're going to zoom in actually to the 4-hour chart just so you can see more ideas here. So when you change to the 4-hour, this is the 4-hour 200 MA now. This is becoming now a key resistance to pay attention to on the lower term time frame. So you know what the bigger structure looks like on the 2-day. So this gray band that we're in, this is your key support. And now we're looking for the key resistance if we're looking for the break higher. So really, if you're in SUI or looking to accumulate SUI, you have this whole range where you could be accumulating in, and then your stop loss would go below the range. So if you were trying to accumulate, you're waiting for about $1.71, maybe up to $1.80 as your lowest of the lows. If it starts going below that $1.70 level, then I would probably hold off on accumulating. I might even take my position out for the time being and just wait to see what structure develops. But either way, you can still just have that alert set on your 4-hour 200 MA, and that will catch the breakout that we're looking for later on down the road.
Right. No, this is really interesting chart. And, the layer ones were tending to run together in this previous run up that we had. Would you say that's still valid, or is it more like Yatsu's kind of theory where that I said in the beginning from the co-founder of Animoca Brands, that the institutions will decide the winners and really the strong will stand out from the weak, or will there be narratives? What do you think?
There's definitely going to be a narrative. Like a lot of the older coins, like the dinosaur coins, they're starting to rebrand themselves as new. Like they're going in different directions now. Like the AI narrative. So some of these coins before had nothing to do with AI. Now that the AI narrative exists, they've been adapting to that narrative. So it's really hard to say which coin is going to be next. It's going to say, oh, we're going to become a this coin now. So it's such an ever-changing landscape in crypto that it's hard to really say what has happened before is going to happen again, or if altcoins are going to stay as their original intended coins or their projects the purpose of that coin.
Right.
So it's just it changes so much that it's hard to keep track, or even hard to predict, I should say, what's going to happen next. But yeah, definitely there's going to be some that are going to stand out. Marketing is going to be a big thing. The use case is going to be another, but really it's just we need to see what kind of developments happen over the next couple of years or so. There's going to be quantum computing coins, I imagine, coming out. Like the narrative is just there's things we haven't even thought about that could be the next narrative. Right. And that's the hard part. It's like, how do you stay on top of it that much? So
yeah, no, understandable. And what you said about the dinosaur coins, like the coins from way back when, rebranding. I mean, Theta is one of those that it used to be primarily video streaming, decentralized nodes, and now it's pivoted to AI, but actually building in the AI space, actually making partnerships, not just trying to ride the wave. So I think that's a really good point. And also, what's going to provide value going forward and how. So it's kind of like we're leaving the smoke and mirrors era of crypto behind a little bit and focusing on the flight to quality, as Larry Fink from BlackRock would say. I see somebody in the chat, Matt says, anyone in Onyx? I think that's RWA, institutional RWA coin. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, stand for partnerships. Okay. Oh, but that's about Theta. So Onyx, I mean, just the whole RWA narrative in general, I believe is going to be massive. We haven't even tapped into that yet. We've just been dipping our toes into AI. But like what RWA really means, it's just kind of a catchphrase right now. And has it been implemented successfully? Not quite. So I believe we're just getting started there, and that we will see a massive run up for RWA, also AI. So this is really, really cool. And I'm really excited for that.
Great. Do you want to cover the next altcoin? This is just another short-term setup for the group that we had. Again, this is very dependent on what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin has that pullback that we were looking for, this setup is probably going to get invalidated. But if Bitcoin at least tries to hold at the level above 86K, we could start seeing some of these altcoins. They have trading opportunities at the very least. So Jupe, again, this has been in a fairly big downtrend. We're going to zoom out a bit just to show where it is. So after this high was hit, we've just been rolling over, and now we're looking for at least a short-term move up to resistance up here at the very least. So in the trading group, we're taking advantage of these short-term moves all the time. So while we're not looking for moonshots, if you're making 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 consecutive setups like this that play out, you're really making more than if you were to hold a coin for a long period of time, right? So if
Right.
you're trying to aim for a 10x hold and you've nailed 8 trades that were 40% movers, if you're compounding every trade and you're putting all of your profits into the next trade going forward, you're going to make more than you do holding anyways. So this is
Yeah.
really what we're focusing on in the group and trying to put forward to everybody.
Absolutely. And I just want to point out, can you give us a stats trip? Like, and this is on this scale. So how many trades would it take? I believe if you started with 5,000 to 1 million, if you doubled your trade every single time.
Yeah, that's using a leverage idea. So
Mhm.
really, you can 100x your money in 10 trades or less if you follow that compounding rule. So you can turn $100 into 100 grand in 10 trades. It's possible. So the idea there is that if you use 5x leverage, you're aiming for a 20% move, and that will double your position. And then if you take your money out after you've doubled that position after that 20% move, that 100 turns into 200, and then it turns into 400 to 800, 16, 32. So if you do that 10 times, that $100 turns into 100K. So this is what a lot of the members in our group have done. They've turned small amounts into big amounts, and now they're
Right.
supporting themselves off of their trading because they've been so consistent.
Right. And that's life-changing money, guys. Like that's just an example with 100, but you can do the math on multiplying that or starting with a bigger position, honing in on your skills. This is invaluable. And this is why I'm so happy to be a part of this group now. It's just a really incredible honor. And the people here are so stand up, and Trip does such an incredible job. So does Rob, who's just about to come on next, who's going to talk about some leverage setups. And so we decided to do a special sale for those of you in the crypto making community with a 20% off. It's the link is in the description, and it's for leverage, spot, and combo groups. And it is a skill that will last forever, and you'll be able to use that skill to potentially live off of or make some passive income from or change your life. So it really is amazing. And you can pair that with a long-term hold strategy. I have one portfolio for trading, one portfolio for holding. So yeah, it's really an incredible skill to learn and master, and it will serve you well in times to come. So on that note, yeah, I think you've this is about a 40% move that we could possibly make here on Jupe, right?
Yeah, that's a great setup. I like it. An ascending triangle at the bottom of a downtrend is usually pretty bullish. You can call it a bunch of things. People might call it an inverse head and shoulders. Some people might call it a double bottom. The ascending triangle, same thing. Whatever you want to call it, the resistance level does not change. So if you want to just set an alert at this resistance, you can catch this trade for Jupe. Yeah, Jupe has been a good one. We had a setup for Ray, which is the Radium coin. Since that was one of the DEX coins that took off first, now we're focused on another DEX coin. So that's what Jupe is here. It's a DEX coin that could follow in Ray's footsteps.
Right. And I just want to point out on the leverage trades here, because I see Dre said he managed to turn 10K into 100. You know what? Leverage can be very risky, especially if you don't know what you're doing, or, if you're making some mistakes and those mistakes start to compound. Obviously, you want to start with small amounts and hone in on your skills before you go bigger. But, I only use a small amount of leverage, 3 to 5x max. And, it doesn't take a lot of leverage to start making consistent gains with your trades. And there's certain stats on that, which Rob can hopefully fill us in on as well, on just, like 1 out of 9 trades hitting, depending on where, like how much profit. There's numbers to this. And this is like, there's a strategy, and you don't have to consistently nail every single trade to make money on it. So we will get some strategies now with Rob. And I think you would agree on that, Trip, as well.
Yeah, we'll just cover Proppy really quick before I
Mhm.
hand it over to Rob, just to give an idea of where Proppy is. The key support is that major support that I'm looking at, and that's around 21 cents for Proppy. So
Mhm.
we started talking about holding above the 3-day 200 MA here, and this was a previous entry that we had posted in the group where we said if this 200 MA holds, this could be a good entry into maybe a double bottom structure. I think at the time we were considering maybe this is a bigger cup and handle, but now that we've come back down to, or we've broken below this support level, we're looking for a test of the next major support for our key buying opportunity. So again, this is a 3-day chart. It could take a while for it to come back down to this level, maybe a couple of weeks to a couple of months. But yeah, this is something I would be focusing on because it's got huge potential for upside when you're buying as close as you can to the bottom. So if we were to measure from the bottom here, the measurement that I'm pulling it to up here, this is at $7. That's the double bottom measured move. So again, if you were to measure the distance between
That's huge.
this high down to this low, this becomes your measured move for Proppy, right? If this turns into a double bottom.
Right.
a massive move. That could be a 3,000% move from the bottom down here, as opposed to up here, it shrinks dramatically. Where
Huge.
if you're buying any higher, yeah, it turns into a 700% move.
I mean,
So
that's
yeah,
huge, guys. That's crazy. And I like that you pointed this chart out because I was an advisor for them right before the last run up for Poppy Keys. There's two in the ecosystem. And we went from 30 million market cap all the way to like 300 or 350. It was phenomenal. People were, I mean, actually minting. So what it is they're bringing property rights on chain. So you can buy your property through an NFT, use a Bitcoin backed loan as collateral. They're partnered with Coinbase. Anthony Scaramucci's an advisor. So it helps to know the background of these. And I've been working with the team on the ground for this, probably do another activation in Bitcoin Vegas in May. So I really, believe in this long term. And it's interesting to see that we're at another point where we could get a phenomenal entry.
Yeah, definitely. The better entries are coming. I'm still blown away that Bitcoin is as high as it is, and the altcoins are still on major support. Anybody that entered the Bitcoin trade and traded how the the trading pyramid, or whatever you want to call it, where Bitcoin takes off first, and then Ethereum follows, and then the large caps to mid caps to small caps, that has been a traditional way to trade the market. But I think again, because of all the meme coin activity, that has changed a lot. So it's not so directly Bitcoin moves first, then Ethereum, then large caps. This time it was like Bitcoin's moving and these small cap meme coins are exploding left, right, and center for who knows what reason. So it's just something else we have to insert into this narrative in the crypto space overall.
Right. And I'm focusing on these kind of quality plays that I see longevity in, that I see the right kind of people behind, and actually doing innovative things and tech that's going to transform lives. I mean, it takes time, guys. It just takes time. It is what it is. We will have run-ups based on speculation, based on hype and, good market conditions. But, I'm looking to find the winners of the race in this next, like the Amazons and the Googles and the Ubers. That's what I'm trying to pinpoint here. So I do have long-term hold bag, and this is one of them.
Right. Yeah. I'll be adding some property too. If we come down to that support, I'll be starting to open my new positions again for the accumulation entries. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. So that was a phenomenal trip. Thank you for all your insights. We will come back to you now after Rob for closing remarks, just closing thoughts on everything that's happening now. But I think if you finished here, we are going to invite Rob up to the show.
Yep. Let's bring Rob up.
All right, let's do it. Rob, you are live. How's it going?
Going pretty good. Am I sharing my screen yet or no?
Not quite. Let me take Tripp's charts off here. So now you're going to have to present.
I think I already did it.
There it is. I'm going to add it up to the stage here.
Oh, right.
Put it down here at the bottom. And wow, there we go.
So we're going to go ahead and jump into some plays right now. And by the way, thanks for that prop you set up there. I'm going to set some limit buys at the very bottom of that demand zone. I'm a limit buyer on spot whenever I do it because I always miss it. The reason why, look at Jazz. We looked at long wick, got bought up really fast. And sometimes you just got to sit there and look at the bottom of those demand zones and put those buys in. But anyway, I'm going to jump into some plays for leverage that I'm looking at right now. So this actually I posted in today too was JUP. I think Chip actually mentioned it. So if it gets rejected from this area, I'm not sure if I'm going to short it yet to my next entry zone. If I'm getting volume here, I might look at a short actually in order to go down to this bottom trend line, and I might get into a entry on a long here on this ascending trend line. And if I don't short it, I'm going to be setting alerts on this bottom trend line, which is a big bullish order block in the 4-hour time frame, and then it's some smaller order blocks in the 1-hour time frame. So I'm probably going to be zooming into the 1-hour time frame, looking for some bullish liquidity grabs underneath there. And once we get those confirmed, I'll be looking to take entry to front run the breakout. Now, I believe the move is going to be a lot bigger than this here, but these are going to be my take profits for leverage or the levels I'll be looking to move my stops under after we break it. So this is a very good, strong setup, and you guys already know the information that tripping on basic ascending triangle. And that's basically what I'm going to be looking to do for this week, actually, is I'm going to be looking for it because everything I go to, like this is banana. This gets pumped every once in a while from a bunch of it's a meme coin that gets pumped randomly, but everything is looking exactly the same as ascending triangles in the 4-hour time frame. I'm actually already short on this token. I didn't get to post it in group. It's just me personally, but anyway. I'm looking for this to come back down here and get to the bottom trend line here to open up a long in order to start getting some take profits on these levels here. This is something I've been watching. I mean, last time I was watching it was up here. I was hoping for the ascending triangle to start forming earlier, but it didn't. But now we're sitting there we got this major ascending higher lows every time it comes down. People are coming in and buying it. So this is another leverage setup. I'm looking to get in and out, and I'll be taking profit. I will be closing trade if we hit this $24.84. If we get that level, I'll probably close trade. That's a high volume order block, and I'll look for confirmation if we break higher. If not, I'll be looking for a higher low to get back into. So those are some trades that I'm looking to get into that for the group that I haven't posted yet. I'm just kind of waiting for markets to give me the signals to sit there and post them. And then,
okay, one question before you go on. If you can go back to Jupe for a minute.
yeah.
For those who aren't avid leverage traders nor traders in general, what do you mean by a bullish liquidity grab?
So a bullish liquidity grab is basically whenever you come down. So I'm going to go ahead and get my drawing tool out here so I can kind of show it. Let me find it here. Why am I not seeing it?
Yeah, you just had it. It was the other tab.
There we go. So So right now we're actually working on a bearish kind of liquidity grab in the 1 hour time frame. But say we could get a bearish liquidity grab, it means you get a long wick right where the breakout level is at. So it's moving, and in the group we use the word moving, not breakout, before the breakout. That means look at the token, wait for candle close, wait for confirmation when it's moving. And once you get that confirmation, you can get that buy back in. But if it just turns into a long wick above this breakout zone, that's a bearish liquidity grab saying, hey, we need to come back down to this support area, and we might get the exact same thing. We get a long wick, and what's happening there is there's a bunch of buys, a bunch of sells. The sells are actually usually stop losses. So people that have opened up long here, they have their breakout traders that thought they're going to say this is breaking out, and they're buying it up here, and it's turned into a long wick, and they put their stop losses probably like right here at this level, maybe a little bit lower. The market makers push it back down, stop out those, create a long wick. And this is a 38%. You'll get a long wick right down there. It'll come right back up in a long wick, and then retest this trend line. And that's your best, safest entry there for like a leverage. You'll know where to put your stop losses at underneath it then, and then you'll goes up. So it's basically just a long wick grabbing liquidity.
Okay. And would you take your profits at the top of this ascending triangle, or would you just move your stop loss up?
If Bitcoin is acting right, I'll just move my stop losses up, because the ascending triangles are usually my favorites. And I've seen lately in the last year, I've seen those to be some of my most profitable trades, is looking for these type of ascending triangles. Because once they break up, I'm going to go into, let's say, I can't think of the token name right now, but there's quite a few tokens where you sit there. It's a very basic trade where you can easily swing trade it. You go from one swing down to this, that's 2 swings, 3 swings. Then you get your third touch, and that completes the triangle. Then that's your fourth swing into a breakout level, and that's where you get the massive gains into. And you can sit there and adjust your trade accordingly, figure out have your stop losses, and it becomes low maintenance trading. You just move your stop losses, and you just don't want to be quick about it until you hit take profit, strong resistance, or you hit reversal. And that's what everything's kind of looking to shape up to me right now. So I'm pretty excited right now on that.
Okay. No, interesting. Thank you for the explanation.
And then I can go in one more trade that actually I'm more just waiting for trades to kind of shape up and look like that. That's just what I'm kind of waiting for. And I'm going to be going through tonight. And my goal is to sit down tonight after my kids go to bed and just to hammer it down. I want to have 40 charts ready with alerts on it. And whichever one alerts me first, I'll look at it and take it. And then I'll hopefully get to compound them into I see a ascending triangle time coming up. That's what I'm starting to see when I start looking at that tokens. This one here could be the same thing. More look like a rising wedge right now, but it might be an uptrend. I have to see. This is something that we're in the spot group. I did post a leverage trade on it, I believe, but it never got down to entry. But we still might get that entry down in here. Turbo. It's the first AI meme token, so it has a very good backing for meme season. Once it gets going, it's in 1 week time frame as well too. It's bouncing off supply zone. This is a different chart though, but this is what I've been mapping out as well too. So that is another one I'm trying getting the leverage group into. I think the spot group's already in it. So other than that, I'm just waiting for the opportunities to present themselves. I'm looking for higher lows and ascending triangles. Any other questions on any tokens? I could chart any more, but that's all I really have today. It's just a waiting game for those entries and being patient.
Right. Yeah. I don't see it at the moment. We had one question about Onyx previously. But what I want to know is, I guess you have similar sentiment to Trip in that we're kind of just in a waiting game to see which direction Bitcoin picks, whether it breaks above that 200 moving average, and what happens from here, because the altcoins are highly contingent on that, and it's kind of just like a waiting game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if it gets rejected, like I think I heard Tripp saying that he's looking for a higher low, and all the altcoins that I'm looking at are looking at ascending triangles. What are ascending triangles? They're higher lows before breakout. So you might as well be looking for the tokens that are printing higher lows.
Right, right. And we're in the midst. Tripp did give some examples of what that looks like on the daily time frame, and with the safer entry that way. And we're just right there. So it's all in all, you know, in my opinion, a generally good opportunity to, you know, start dollar cost averaging into spot trades. I mean, that's what I'm doing. And also just to start honing in on your skills, learning how to trade, learning how to leverage trade, and getting ready for what's to come. That's just exactly the way that I'm playing this market at the moment. I know Tripp is probably doing something similar, and you as well, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, the one key is like right now, it's getting you prepare your mindset to be prepared for where I found a lot of traders lose out at is they don't adjust with the market. They're so used to the same thing over and over again that once they finally get used to it, it changes, and then you have to trade differently. And that's where I'm trying to sit there, and that's where I've been working on myself. I've actually been timing out my trades to be better on that. I'm always trying to grow myself as well too, because we can always be better, is in my opinion. And that's where I've been kind of working on myself, is how do I want to trade this? And is the market conditions going to change? Because you go in the weekly time frames, it looks like we're actually been in a weekly pivot zone, and we're getting near the end of the weekly bullish pivot, I'm going to say, when you go to altcoins. Yeah, I always use ADAs. I could probably go to any altcoin and look at it. You go to weekly time frames, and you can see the oscillators are getting down to those bare minimums, and they're starting to point up or sideways, and it looks like they're going to be pivoted for a upside. Then whenever you're in a weekly uptrend, you can sit there and say daily swing longs are going to be great trading opportunities.
Right. I think Tripp refers to them as the lazy long period.
With spot, yes. With leverage, no, because you can get, if you're using stop losses and you're moving up accordingly to the strategy there is still a higher probability where you can get licked. You get those long wicks to the downside out of nowhere. It's like a flash crash, and it's bottom back up within the next hour or two, and those can stop you out really fast and get you wrecked if you just open up trades, and you just get you wrecked. Or I know some people who build trades with leverage over time, and they work like weeks on these trades to build up a big position, and they just get wrecked within 2 minutes, and then it's right where it was at. So I don't really try to do that very much. But
what I mean is that it's going to be better trading conditions. That's kind of like my way of saying it's going to be much better at some point as soon as we get these pivots and these critical, you know, like bullish signals, like breaking above and holding above the 200 MA.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier. It's going to be a lot easier for the bulls to be trading within the new uptrend that we're printing on the 1 day to 1 week time frame.
Right.
Your 1 week charts that you're talking about for the altcoins, that also works with the dominance chart at resistance on its weekly time frame. So we had mentioned that we could get maybe a couple of red weeks on dominance, and that would equate to a couple of green weeks for the altcoins.
Yeah, 100%. And those weekly charts, I was never a big fan of high time frames. And the more I've learned, the more I started paying attention to them. I was like, that's whenever I learned to look at the pivots and the high time frames to learn when to change my trading strategies, or to tweak my trading strategies according to market conditions. That was my big lesson of this past year.
Absolutely. I mean, these are all really amazing gems that you guys share in strategies and tips. And I know that the audience really appreciates it. You know, Theta, we had that one for you. We'll follow up on that chart for the Theta gang. Just a lot of good things coming. So we're going to continue to revisit what's happened from the previous live stream and update you guys once per week at a minimum. That's our commitment, and that's what we're doing from the Capital Mindset Trading Group to help benefit the community for free. And we've also created a 20% off link for the crypto making community, which is in the description for you guys to sign up to spot leverage. That's majorly headed by Rob, who is doing a lot of the setups there. Tripp, who's our lead admin in spot and leverage. And just like these guys are watching the charts 24/7, looking for the absolute best setups to take that work out of the equation for you. So it's a phenomenal group to be part of. They also help you with strategy. And if you have any questions, if you need help learning, they'll be there for you. So it's a phenomenal group. I do highly recommend that you sign up and you start to hone in your skills now and get ready for that next big thing, as Rob said, also Tripp. And guys, it's been an excellent stream. Any closing thoughts before we head this one out?
In my opinion, yeah, if you're a spot trader, then you're focusing on accumulating for long term. So that could be a 2 to 3 month, maybe a little bit longer. Just start accumulating on those major support levels. You got to manage your risk though, right? So if you don't put stop losses in, then you're going to be one of those people that says, "Oh, I bought this coin at XX price and now it's down 50%." So if you want to avoid that 50% drawdown, you got to learn how to use your stop losses. It's
Right.
very common for a lot of traders, especially in the crypto space, where you get wicked out of a position and you have to buy back in later. In my opinion, though, that is a very small problem to work with when you're considering I could take a big loss or I get stopped out for 10% and try to find entry later. So
Right.
don't let it stress you out. If you get stopped out, that's just part of the game.
Right.
The hardest part is jumping back in after you've taken a hit. Most people give up and they don't want to do it anymore because they're like, "Oh, this is garbage. Why am I doing this stuff?" But the
Right.
traders, the smart traders, they're looking at those as saying, "Oh, I got stopped out, but I have a better buying opportunity coming, which means more potential upside from these lower levels than buying at the higher levels."
Absolutely. And for all of you who are long-term holders, I mean, that's a whole separate thing in itself. These are good entries to get in that support to accumulate to your long-term backs. So one is for holders, one is for, spot traders, and then another one could be for leverage trading. So there's all different strategies that you can combine to crush it in the markets. Yeah. And Rob, do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap this one up?
Look for long wick reversals on anything. Like I'm looking at that Theo trade that you guys are looking at. It's on weekly demand zone. I'm hoping for a long wick reversal underneath it. And I mean, I'll be probably looking to zoom in and get nail entry on there. So don't be afraid of long wicks. Like, I mean, just look for the signals. Like that's my big thing. Look for signals. Don't
Right.
like that. That's my biggest suggestion. Look for the reversal signals.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
phenomenal. The market will give you clues.
Yep, 100%. I've learned that so much. Is listen to the chart. The chart's the boss of the market. Nobody's your boss besides the chart. It's the captain. Like, here we go.
Phenomenal. Trip, did you have something to add?
No, I think Rob pretty much summed it up there. Yeah. So that long wick that he's talking about, that's it's showing buy pressure. So when you're getting stopped out, that's another liquidity grab to the downside. Usually people have their stop losses below that major support. Once that liquidity is released, then the whale starts scooping up those buy orders, and that's where those long wicks really come from. Is they're
Right.
waiting for you to get stopped out, and then they buy those really low prices so they can get an even better deal than you did.
Right.
Also, to add into that too, those whales, sometimes they can't. They're such big whales that they can't get their orders filled unless the traders with stop losses get stopped out. Those stop losses are filling those orders of those whales up. So
Right.
they want that to happen because that's how they enter.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, don't be afraid of those. Look for the signals. Don't be afraid of those long wicks and starting to have. Let's see if the market starts to show signs of reversal. That's what we're focused on now, and what we'll follow up in the next stream. Hope you guys all really enjoyed. Thank you all for being here so much. Thank you, Matt, Rudman, Dre, all the regulars, and everybody else who's new to the channel. Please let us know for next stream what charts you'd like us to cover, and we'll do our best to accommodate that. And until next time, guys, have a phenomenal week, and we'll see you again soon.
It's great. Take care, everybody.